My name is George O'Neill. I'm a real estate broker in Toronto. I have my own brokerage. The name is O'Neill Real Estate Limited. I'm a second generation broker. I grew up in this business. My family had their own brokerage originally in New Brunswick. That's where I'm originally from. And I came to Toronto, well, I left New Brunswick about 20 years ago, came to Toronto. I worked in Montreal, worked in Toronto, now back in Toronto. And I'm based in the beach, and we work predominantly in the beaches, Leslieville, Riverside, and downtown. That tends to be the bulk of where we work. However, for certain clients, we will work outside of those areas, but it has to make sense for them and it has to make sense for us. We don't chase business all over everywhere, in other words. We try to be very focused on what we do. And I want to thank the organizers of the conference for inviting me here today to chat. And what we want to talk about is social media. And if I could just get a feeling of the people in the room, how many people here would consider themselves real estate investors? Okay, good. I mean, that's the majority of the audience. How many people are actually real estate agents or mortgage brokers or agents? Okay, good. I guess that's the bulk. Anybody that fits into another category that I haven't? Yes?
Media.
Media, okay.
I'm in the recruitment field, so I'm kind of looking at doing this for the recruitment business.
Okay, cool. And what field are you in, sorry?
Accounting.
Accounting? Okay. We won't hold that against you. I used to work at Deloitte Consulting at PricewaterhouseCoopers, so I worked with a lot of great accountants. And accounting is a great field. In fact, I might even use accounting as an example today. We'll see as it goes, in a positive way. So, how many people here actually use social media in their business? For business purposes? How many people use social media for personal purposes, like Facebook and just staying connected with people, okay? How many people have no clue what social media is? Or are scared by it, or don't understand, okay?
That's terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, it can be intimidating, right? So I hope to uncover a little bit of the mysteries around social media. I'll describe a little bit about what I do in our business. And I mean, we are very focused on business results with social media. We're not doing it to play around. We're not doing it because it's a cool thing to do. We're doing it because we want to drive business through it. But we try to do it, in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, other people may disagree with me, and if there's people in the room that follow me on these different sites and disagree with how I do it, then I'd like to have that conversation, because we want to improve it. I'm not here to say this is the way to do it. I'm just here to say this is the way we do it, and here's some of the results. And this is why it would matter from a real estate investor perspective, maybe to help you understand how some of the people that are out there that may be taking a lead in this area from a real estate brokerage perspective. And if you're looking to use an agent, maybe some of the characteristics you may want to look for when you're hiring an agent. Because in my opinion, if a real estate agent today does not use social media, they're not doing their clients a good service, right? Because the reality of marketing, social media is an integrated component of every marketing effort pretty much that I know of any of the agencies downtown across all industries. And if you're not if your agent is not using social media to help sell your house, or not using social media perhaps to market themselves so you can find them, I think that there's a lost opportunity there. And I would encourage the agents in the room to get serious. This is not something that's reversing. This is not going away. This is not a fad, right? I used to joke that the internet was a fad, but I never believed that it was a fad. I'm an engineer by background, so I have a very technical background, and when we saw the internet come along, we knew it was here for good, right? And it is here for good. Social media is here for good. What we call it 5 years from now will probably be something different. There might be another term, but the reality is this is an integrated part of business today, in my opinion. And like I said, I welcome your input and thoughts on that. I won't go through that slide. If anybody wants this presentation deck, just leave me your card at the end, or just give me a, sorry?
Are you using LinkedIn? Like, what are you using? Which social media?
We'll come to that.
Okay, because I'm going to leave to go to that.
Yeah, sure. Well, before you go, if you want to write your email address on a card or leave it on a piece of paper with me, I'll make sure you get the presentation. I'm going to put this presentation up on SlideShare, so you guys can download it yourselves, but I'll just tell you where, I'll send you a note so you know how to find it. That's a little bit of background about me. I'm an engineer. I didn't always work in the real estate business, but from a personal investment perspective, I've invested in real estate for over 20 years. I have my own brokerage. Enough about me. Let's get down memory lane for a minute. For those of you that are in the business, real estate agents or mortgage brokers, by show of hands, how many people have been in the business 10 years or longer? Okay? So you guys will have lived through this kind of stuff. So, memory lane in real estate brokerages. The old days of the brokerage was the MLS would send out paper copies of new listings every week, or whatever the frequency was in their territory, to the offices. The offices would put them in a binder, and when somebody knocked on the front door of the brokerage and wanted to see a listing or see what they had available, they'd get the book in, right? Is that true? That was the process, right? So consumers had to come to them. Consumers were forced to come into that office. Some people, it was an intimidating experience for them to walk into that office, right? It's like going into the lion's den, right? Who here really enjoys going to shop for a new car and sit down at the desk at the car salesman? Nobody does, right? It's that feeling where you feel like you don't know if you're being taken advantage of, you don't know if you're supposed to, the information is asymmetrical generally. The salesperson generally has more information than you do, so therefore we're at a disadvantage. The old days of the real estate brokerage, that was absolutely the business model. And I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying that's the way it was. The brokerages had much more information than consumers, and when consumers wanted information about properties listed, they would have to go to a brokerage to get that information. The internet has turned that entirely on its head. Now, consumers can go to realtor.ca and search every property that's listed in Canada that's on MLS, and realtor.ca, the Canadian Real Estate Association, does a great job with all the local boards across Canada to make sure that information is accurate and timely. So consumers can go get that information, and they don't have to talk to an agent until they're much further down that purchase process, perhaps, than they would have in the past. In the past, they had to contact the agent at the beginning. Now the purchaser can go much further down the process, explore different properties, explore communities, use websites like Zoocasa, and we'll talk about what that is if people don't know what it is. Use websites like Homezilla, use websites like our brokerage, use websites like other agents' brokerages, the national franchises, of course, realtor.ca. There's lots of information out there. There's community websites for individual communities. We just started one for the street that I actually live on in the beach. That's an example of a local community website. And there's websites for schools, hospitals, all the stuff, restaurants. So, people can be sitting in the middle of the night in their underwear surfing for real estate, and they don't ever need to talk to a real estate brokerage today. Until perhaps it's time to go look at the property or actually go purchase a property. And even some of that is changing now with some of the latest rule changes. So consumer is very much in more control now. Consumer has more information, and I personally think that's a good thing. Because as an owner of a business, I would love to work with people that are much more educated and are much closer to the purchase decision than they used to be. Now the challenge is I just need to work with more of those people, right? But the reality is there's much less time spent educating consumers now because consumers can educate themselves. And consumers want that. So the whole marketing process has reversed itself. It's not outbound marketing anymore, which we would have traditionally done, it's inbound marketing. So that's a little bit of memory lane, the old way to the new way, and consumers are much more in charge and have information. The other reality of the internet and working with agents that are on top of things and are using the latest digital and online social media marketing methods is that those agents that are doing it full-time and are doing it seriously are much more informed, and they're much more informed quicker, because the tools that people are using as consumers are also available to agents, right? And those agents that are on top of things, doing things, they're getting information much faster. And I'll give you two recent examples in my business where this has worked to benefit my client. On Victoria Park Avenue, near the beach, near Kingston Road, this occurred about a year ago. There was a semi-detached house that came up for sale. It was for sale by owner property. Not for sale by owner. A power of sale. The bank had repossessed the property. The owner had defaulted on it. We saw that listing at 7 o'clock in the morning when it came on the market. I had several investors that I work with that were looking for that type of property. I called the investor that I knew wanted that specific type of property. By 10 o'clock in the morning, we put in an offer on that property because that property appreciated about 30% in about 6 months. Because it needed some work, it had some problems. Like if anyone's ever bought a power sale property, there's often problems with it because the owners often neglect them for some reason. They are financially, usually have financial issues, so they can't afford to look after the property. and oftentimes they may be tenanted, right? Depends on those different scenarios. So the property needed some work, he invested the money, it jumped up significantly just in the six months. It's gone up now by over $100,000 in that year, the value of that property. Now that's not the norm, but that's an example of where the early bird gets the worm, if you're familiar with that phrase, right? People that jump on stuff fast, and that's an example where an agent that's on top of something can benefit their client. In fact, if I didn't have as strong of ethics as I did, I would have bought the property myself, because it was that great of a deal. But you know what, we work for our clients first, our clients' interests always come first, and we let our client take that property. Another property just happened this week. In the beach, there's a new development called Belfair Q Beach Residences. Has anybody heard of that?
Yeah.
It's a former church in the corner of Belfair and Queen Street. The United Church of Canada sold the property about a year ago, 6 months, a year ago, because the churches were amalgamating. They had 2 United Churches in the community. This one they sold is being redeveloped as 23 condos and 6 townhomes. As soon as I found out about that, the sales office called me. A week before it was publicly available on the market, we sold the 2 most expensive penthouses in the property, and in 1 week they have already gone up in value by 5%.
How much did you sell those for?
Pardon me?
How much did they sell for?
I can't tell you because the sale's not closed.
Oh, okay.
But if you look at the list price, to give you that, they're close to $1 million each. And in 1 week they've gone up by 5%. And how do I know they've gone up by 5%? Because those of you that are familiar with the cooling period, when you buy a condo, you have 10 days cooling period, right? Some of those properties have come back now, and the builder has increased the price by 5% in 1 week because the market demand is there. They sold the property out in 3 days. They're all gone, right? That's an example the early bird gets the worm. So agencies and brokerages that are out there that are on top of their game using these tools as well can help you as an investor in this business. I'm just going to look at my watch. I want to make sure we keep us on time and allow time for questions. So let's look at some of the stats. The stats are out. This is not just me talking about why this is important. I tried to give you 2 real-world examples recently, but the stats are demonstrating this too. In Canada, this survey was done a couple of years ago and was presented at a conference last year that we attended, and actually partially organized the conference. 24 million Canadians, more or less, are online. And in Canada, how many, what's the population of Canada, roughly? 32, 33, right? So it's about 75% of Canadians are using the internet, right? It's a high percentage. In the United States, the National Association of Realtors, which is the, I guess, the organized real estate body in the United States, the equivalent to our Canadian Real Estate Association, did a study, and they found that 97% of consumers are finding real estate today online. At least they're starting the process there. 97%. You know what? I'm an engineer by background, I'll route that to 100. So that means pretty much everybody that's out there buying real estate today is using the internet first to find either the property or to find the agent to work with. That's what that means. So if you're an agent in the room, the writing is on the wall, right? You got to be online, and you got to be online right. And if you're a consumer in the room and you're online, don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. You're doing everything right, because everybody else is surfing online too. And you know what? We know this anyway, right? If we look for something like, I'm going to sell one of my cars. And so I went to the GM Canada website last night, and there's a little finance tool, how much is your used car worth? So I went in and, right? Like, we're online in our daily lives for pretty much everything we do anyway. It's not just real estate, right? But everybody that's looking for real estate is online, pretty much. So 100% of the addressable market is online. As any business person, you have to go to where your market is. So that's telling, that's the reality. Now, traditional media. Traditional media was outbound, it was one way, and it was very expensive generally. Right? Traditional media, television, billboards, newspapers, radio ads, flyers, right? People knocking on your door, right? Generally speaking, these things are expensive, and it's one way. You need to blast the message out to thousands, sometimes millions of people, and the percentage that actually end up doing business with you is very small. right? So the ratio of actual business to overall spend can be fairly low. In other words, your marketing budget has to be pretty high. That's the traditional world. There's still lots of that going on. Still lots of people advertising on billboards. It works for some people, but it's got to be part of an overall strategy. It can't be just traditional media, because consumers are online. And where consumers are online, they're using tools like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and a whole bunch of other websites to get their information and to communicate not only with potential service providers like us for real estate, they're communicating amongst themselves. So this street blog or street website that I set up, we set it up, and people are now talking on that blog amongst themselves about that new development on the corner of Belfair and Queen Street. They're talking amongst themselves. I'm not controlling the conversation. I just set it up. It's easy for us to set this up because
Is that
we
on
have
Facebook? Facebook, you set up Facebook?
No, it's actually a website that we set up. So, you know what, you can do it in Facebook too. It's easy, these tools are fairly easy and straightforward to set up, and it creates if you create the medium for people to have a conversation on, in the end, that potentially will benefit us as a business.
Are you real estate people using LinkedIn too? Using LinkedIn?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So, this conversation it can be one-to-one, it can be one-to-many, and it can be many-to-many, right? That's the beautiful thing about the online world and social media. And the word social media, all it means is that we are now doing things ourselves that in the past we had to hire professional media companies for. Now, we don't always do them as well as the professional media companies do, and I'm a great example of that. If you go and watch my daily video blogs, right? Like I do a daily video blog, and what I do, I take this little flip camera, and I talk into the camera often about some sort of subject. So hi, this is George O'Neill. I'm at the property show in Toronto with a great group of people, a lot of investors and people in the real estate business, professionals, and they're here to learn about how to use social media in real estate. At least that's my topic this afternoon. I hope they get something out of it. If you'd like to learn more about using social media effectively in real estate, email me at george@o'neillrealestate.ca. Or leave a comment here on this video blog. From the property show with a great group of folks. Do you want to clap? Okay, so that's a piece of digital content that will go up on our site next week, right? Now, will some people think that that's very cool and sexy? No. A lot of people might find it's boring. But what it is, how long did it take me to do that, and what's the cost for me to do that?
0 and 30 seconds.
Yeah, right? The cost is almost nothing. It's going to take a little bit of time to load it up and stuff. But the cost is almost nothing. And you know, it's another data point of George O'Neill out there. And it'll be on it'll be on YouTube, and it'll be on YouTube forever. Unlike sending a flyer to a house, now I read everything that comes into our house just because I'm in business, I want to see what's going on. But a lot of people, you'll see them at their front, they've got the recycle bin, because I knock on some doors, the recycle bin is right under the mailbox. Open the mailbox, into the recycle bin, right? So a lot of that traditional old way of marketing is just wasting money today. Where today, these digital footprints that we're leaving are there forever. Our kids are going to see them someday.
What kind of little device are you using to do that?
That's it's called a flip camera,
Yeah.
made by Cisco. You can buy them at Best Buy for less than $200.
You can use an iPhone or
Yeah.
BlackBerry.
The reason it's called a flip phone, you push a button, the little USB sticks in, you can stick it into your laptop or your computer. It's very easy to use. So that's an example of social media. It's me as an individual person doing something that I would have required a camera crew in the past to do, somebody professional to upload it. We do all this stuff ourselves. And these are just little pieces of information that consumers will see of us over time. And hopefully, if they're ready to think about real estate, they'll think about us because we're doing it. Now, I actually teach a course to other realtors about social media marketing. And I used to call this the big three. It's really now the big four. Like if you're trying to sort through all this, like where do you start? What's the most important? There's hundreds of sites out there. The most important site today is Facebook by far. By far. There's over 500 million users. What's maybe even more now? 600 million? I don't know. There's at least 500 million users. You can't underestimate the depth and breadth of Facebook. A lot of people are using it, and there are people that we would not suspect are using it. The statistics are showing that people from 55 and 65, 70-year-old range, that's one of the fastest groups that people using Facebook now. So it's not just a young person's thing anymore, but there's a way to use it effectively. I use Twitter heavily. Everybody doesn't necessarily need to use Twitter, but Twitter can be very effective. LinkedIn is very effective from a business-to-business perspective. The way I like to look at this, and I know it's overgeneralizing, and that's why we teach courses on this, but Facebook is more of a person-to-person, or in the language of media, consumer-to-consumer, where Twitter is more business-to-business. Typically, that's the way it works. But at the end of the day, everybody are people, right?
Is LinkedIn more for business, or they told me LinkedIn and Facebook are the two main ones I told.
Well, Facebook, in my personal opinion, is the number one. LinkedIn is also important from a business. You want to have a LinkedIn profile if you're in business, right? I've never got any business through LinkedIn, but I certainly am connected to a lot of people on LinkedIn. But does it create a holistic experience? Yes, because somebody that has done business with me through Twitter or came through YouTube, they also will probably find that I'm on LinkedIn and they know that I'm serious about
So you
everything.
should link to all three of those, right?
Yeah,
That's why
in my opinion, these four are the ones people should pay attention to. Now, not everybody's going to create video blogs like I do. I'm not suggesting everybody needs to or should. In fact, some days I probably shouldn't. I recently had my hair cut. I even took the video camera in and we did a video blog and getting my hair cut. But you pay attention to YouTube from the perspective of it's the number 2 search engine in the world now. Google is number 1, YouTube is number 2. Right? So think anything you want to find, if you can't find it on Google, or if you're a more visually person, you want to watch a video, look for it on YouTube, it's most likely there. That's why you need to pay attention to YouTube. Okay? And finally, at the end of this month, this is not a pitch, it's just a note, at the end of this month we have a full day conference on social media marketing specifically for real estate. So if you're in the real estate business, a practitioner, an agent, mortgage broker, is really geared to those people. Sometimes people from the public come. But if you just want to learn more about what we're up to, you can check out that website, realestatemarketingsummit.ca, and it'll tell you a little bit more about what we do. We treat this serious. We're in the real estate business full time. We kind of do this on the side to help other brokerages and agents because it is so new for the real estate business. And there are some good people out there that are using it. But if the message I want to leave you with is that if you're an investor or you're a consumer, you're looking, who should you work with? You should be hiring and working with agents that understand this stuff because it will benefit you. You'll get out earlier, you'll find information faster, and they will help you do what it is you want to achieve quicker. So with that, I'll close. I'm here if there's any questions. Yes, go ahead.
With that seminar, will you go in depth with all of
Yes, much more in depth. We've got 3 hours just on those 3 topics.
more in depth?
More in depth.
Not just how great they are, but
No, more in depth. We'll show you how to log on and how to do all that stuff. Go on the website, there's much more information.
Yeah, I've been on there.
Okay, yeah, there's much more in depth, absolutely. Yeah, other questions?
You have a business card?
Yeah, me too. That's all.
I do,
I want
yeah.
to, that's exactly what I want to, so I'll put the other.
Sure.
Talk to you.
Sure. Any other?